Hi, it's Evie. I've been at the Grand Boys house all afternoon and they wore me out. 3 years old and 5 years old. My goodness, do they have a high energy level. And as their energy is high, it's sucking mine out. I'm gonna make a cold salad tonight, so I'd like you to come back in the kitchen with me if you're interested in that. I feel like I'm too far away, but it's because I can't see. I can see myself moving, but I can't see very well. So this salad is a loose version of a Waldorf salad. I'm not putting in the celery, and I'm putting in chicken, an apple, green grapes, a bag of chopped romaine blend, sour cream, and mayonnaise. So I thought while I did this, I would tell you a few of the highlights from my visit with the grandkids today. It was really long and they had a lot of energy. So I came home super tired. So this rotisserie chicken, I gave the dogs the wings, the thighs, and the drumsticks. So I have the breast left. So I'm going to cut this up without the skin and put it in the bowl. So one of the first things I remember that I thought was quite funny was I said, well, Grammy's got to go potty. And the 3-year-old, I mean, his language and speaking skills are top notch. And he stands up and he goes, oh, Grammy, you can use my bathroom. And I said, okay, thank you. Because that's where I was going to head. I wasn't going to go through their parents' bedroom. And he goes, why don't you go ahead and use the big one? Because there's a little potty chair on the floor. And I said, okay, thank you. And he actually had to go before me, so I waited on him. I went inside, I closed the door, and almost immediately I hear him hit the floor. And he's got his face right down at the bottom of the door. And he goes, Grammy, are you okay? And I said, oh, yes, I'm fine. I'm fine. And he goes, okay. I hear him run off. He comes back and he goes, can you see my toes? And he's sticking them under the door. I said, yep, I see your toes. And he goes, okay. And he's got one of his parents' old cell phones that isn't even charged anymore, but there's amazing things on that screen. I've seen them for myself. So he sticks half of the phone under the door and he's like, can you see my phone? And I said, yes, I can. Well, this little 3-year-old is supposed to have a nap at 3 o'clock. I'm sorry, at 12 o'clock. And that's when the parents were leaving for their appointment. So, and older brother had just gotten home from school. He got picked up early. And we were going to do without the nap, which probably really wouldn't affect me as much as it would his parents during the dinner time hour. But Mom said, we've missed our window for a nap. And I said, okay, we'll roll with that. Well, about 3 o'clock, he's laying on the floor on his back watching TV. And I see this look like, eyes kind of rolling back in his head. He's trying to hold his eyelids open. And I said, Tilden, are you tired? No. And off to the races we went again. But they had completely covered the floor in the living room with toys. And they wanted to go outside. And I said, they asked the question, Grammy, will you take us outside? It's not too hot. And I said, if you clean the living room up, put all your toys away, I'll take you outside. And they said, okay, and they didn't do anything. I said, well, I tell you what, if you don't pick the toys up, I'm going to shut the TV off. And a few balls were picked up and little balls picked up and put in a bag. There's these big canvas bags they're kept in. And then they're done again. They're watching TV, they're playing, they're goofing off. And I said, I grabbed the TV remote and I just shut the TV off. Oh my goodness, were they upset. And I said, I told you to clean up or I was going to shut the TV off. So they're kind of, sort of picking toys up. Eventually we did get them picked up. But the 3-year-old had taken his socks off and kind of thrown them around the room. And I said, where does mommy put your dirty socks? They swore it was in the hallway, which actually it's like a square area. And that was, whoop, I put that in the wrong spot. And that was actually where they were supposed to put them. But the little 3-year-old, when I said, come on, let's go, let's get your socks put where mommy wants them when they're dirty. Because I mean, they're tiny, they're gonna get lost. This is what he does. He's like the knees are bent. He's kind of leaned forward like this. And I go to pick his hand up and it's like a wet noodle. It's not going anywhere. And so I walked him back to the hall and I actually dropped the socks, but he had to make the walk back there. And then we ended up going outside and they had a lot of fun. They played in the dirt. I don't know enough of the rules. I'm usually not with them alone for that long. So, mom's there saying, do this, do that. It's time for this, it's time for that. And I come over for like a playtime before nap. So this was kind of a new thing to me to be in charge of everything. And the little 3-year-old, kids are so forgiving. They quit being mad at you a lot sooner than a teenager does. And he crawled up in the recliner with me. I had a blanket on my lap. And I put my arm around him. And he looks up at me and he goes, Grammy, I love you. Oh my goodness. If he would have said that when I said pick up your toys, I probably would have picked them all up for him and left the TV on. He wasn't being manipulative at all. It just came out. It's so sweet. Okay, I've got this chicken in the bowl where it belongs, not back in the bag. And I'm gonna wash my hands and this and get on the fruit. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this chicken carcass and I have opened my bag of lettuce. Go ahead and pour that in the bowl. And I'm just gonna cut these grapes up really quick. They're nice and big and fat and juicy. Oh, you know what I forgot to get out was the walnuts. I meant to. I will grab them. These grapes are so big, I think I might need to quarter them instead of half them. Look at that. Enormous. So, I love those little boys so much, but my goodness, I can't believe that when my kids were that age, I had 2 more kids in the house that I babysat during the day. So I had 4 kids all day. There was 2 in diapers at one point and 2 I was potty training and I was housebreaking a dog. And I just had 2 and I didn't even have to cook for them. And I'm worn out. But I will say that they asked me today if I would, when I came back next time, if we could cook pizza again. And I said we could, because when my kids were probably about that age, I came home. I think I probably picked them up from wherever. No, maybe I wasn't working then. I remember being in the kitchen and I told the kids, I said, Mommy is not cooking dinner tonight. If you want dinner, you're gonna have to cook it yourself. And I mean, their little mouths just dropped open because I didn't speak to them that way. And I never made them make their own food. They had a little Fisher-Price table that was in the corner of the eat-in dining. Well, it was like the kitchen was in the middle of 2 dining rooms, so it was 3 long rooms. And so we had our regular, 6-seat dining table, and then they had their little Fisher-Price table. So I kept a couple of cereal boxes up against the corner, and then I had a little tiny pitcher of milk in the refrigerator that was, probably like 16 ounces, but I wouldn't fill it all the way up. And I was like, when it's Saturday morning, if you get up early because you want to watch cartoons and stuff, I said, don't wake mommy up. You get the milk out of the fridge. here's your cereal bowls, blah, 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 blah. So they could make their own breakfast. So they were used to that. But to make your own dinner, no way. So I got some of those pre-made pizza crusts. I think Boboli is, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. But anyway, I got some of those. And then I got the jarred pizza sauce and pepperoni and cheese. And so, you know, I got them their little, like the little oil brushes. So they painted their pizza sauce on. And of course, we had to cook them one at a time because I got the really big ones. And they loved it. They loved making them. They loved waiting on them to be cooked. They loved eating them. So, you know, a while later, Daddy comes home from work and they've got to run and tell him, we've made dinner. You've got to come taste it. It's so good. And we want to know whose is your favorite, who made the best pizza. And he says, okay. So, you know, he gets a plate with 2 pieces of pizza on it, or 2 plates. I don't remember exactly. And the kids are young, you know, they're waiting like, as he's taking forever to get the pizza to his mouth. And then he takes a bite and he closes his eyes and he's like, Anyway, drags it out forever. And then he tries the second pizza. And again, they're just so excited. Whose is the best? Somebody's going to be happy and somebody's going to be crushed. Of course, he did what any parent should do. He said, I can't pick a favorite. They don't taste exactly the same, but they are both equally good. And they were very happy with that. So I'd always remembered the kids' first time making pizza and how much fun they had doing it, how much fun they had eating it. And so twice I've gone over with more like the personal sized pizzas, because Mom is a realtor and she's got an office and she's usually off working or running for a grocery pickup or something. So I'll tell her ahead of time, I'm going to bring lunch or I'm going to bring pizza for the boys to make. And they asked me today if the next time I came, I would bring stuff so they could make their own pizzas. And you know, the pizzas are like this big and they spray their, they paint their pizza sauce on and they just want cheese. They don't want any pepperoni. It makes me so happy that they enjoy it so much that they ask me to do it again. I mean, maybe I'm a little too melty with them, but that means a lot to me. I almost forgot the walnuts again. Oh my goodness. I'm still tired. I made a cup. I only drink decaf coffee, but I made a cup of coffee when I got home, and I haven't quite finished that. I wanted to go ahead and get this salad made and be able to sit down for a while and relax. My dad popped his head out of his room and said, I've been eating all day, which was meaning don't make any dinner for me. Well, it's already 5:30, so getting made. But I mean, the salad is gonna keep at least through tomorrow, and then either it'll get eaten or it'll get thrown out. Some will get eaten. I don't know if it'll get finished or not. My husband doesn't care a lot for celery, and I don't know that it has a whole lot of flavor in this salad, so I don't worry about putting it in there. I just think it's more of a texture-like thing, like you use water chestnuts in food, and I'm good with that. The big mayonnaise controversy. This is mayo olive oil mayonnaise. And yes, it still has some bad oils in it, but not as high as regular mayonnaise does. Do y'all buy your sour cream like this? Because this is, it stays fresh for so long and you don't have to stir it if you don't use your whole container of it. I wonder if I'm supposed to put, oh, I think I do put some lime juice in here to keep the apples from turning. But I don't put any salt or pepper or anything. I have put some celery seed in before. I know some people cringe at not fresh lemon or lime juice, so I'll give you your moment. Cringe. Okay, now I'm gonna use it. I've never had anybody say when I've put a, lemon juice, lime juice that's already been squeezed and put in a jar. No one's ever tasted something and said, is this not fresh lime juice? Either I've got some really nice people eating my food or they just can't tell. And I figure if I'm nice enough to go to the store and pick the stuff up, bring it home, and prepare it, nobody can complain about it. You can either eat it and not say anything, or you can not eat it and not say anything. That's my thoughts. Okay, I think this is ready to eat. The first time I had a salad like this was in a restaurant that I was old enough to remember anyway, and I was appalled that there'd be mayonnaise on grapes and apples, but it's so good. Okay, this is what it looks like. Delicious. So I am going to taste it. I don't know if you could hear my dad or not. The dog jumped off of his bed onto the hard floor, and after the dog is almost out the door, he's yelling, "Get out of here." Nice big bite. Do I have an apple? I've got apple, nut, grape. It's about to fall. Okay. Really, really good. And everything was cold. So there's no different temperatures in there. Like, if you had an apple on the counter. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for keeping me company while I made a salad and listening to stories of my grandchildren. And I will see you next time. Bye.